Dan rolled out of bed and walked through the connecting door into his own hotel room to get ready for the day. We always booked 2 side-by-side rooms with that little door in between. Less chance anyone would catch on. If people found out we were sleeping together, it'd be a disaster. I was his executive assistant after all. We'd been working together for a little over 2 years, and, well, for most of that time, we'd been more than just co-workers. My job meant constant travel, client visits, out-of-state meetings, industry expos, and usually it was just the 2 of us on the road. It made sneaking around way too easy. Meanwhile, my husband Alan was home with our girls. Yeah, I was married, still am. I know, the whole thing with Alan, it started way too young. I was 18 and still in high school when I got pregnant. One of those parents are gone, let's mess around kind of nights with my first boyfriend, and boom, baby on the way. By the time we told our families, there was no going back. My folks freaked, wanted me to give the baby up. His parents were the opposite. They said we should keep her, and they'd help out. And they really did. Alan stuck with me the whole way through, even with the stares and the crap people said at school. Kids were cruel. Teachers too. I got called a hoe more than once. Alan even got suspended for punching some guy who mouthed off. The delivery was hell. But Alan was there, holding my hand. 2 days after I turned 19, we had our baby girl, Lauren. And the moment we held her, we both knew no way were we giving her up. My parents barely spoke to me. So we moved into Alan's parents' place. Tried to make it work. They took care of Lauren a lot, bless them. We both finished high school, got jobs, scraped by and got married in this tiny ceremony. Moved into a small house and did our best. College plans got shelved. Then Emma came along. Another oops. So now we had 2 kids, no degrees and jobs that barely paid rent. But we pushed through, worked part-time, studied part-time. 10 years later, we finally had our degrees. Alan adored those girls. Me? I tried, but I always felt this wall between us, like part of me resented them. I know how awful that sounds, but it's the truth. I think I blamed them, blamed the life I didn't get to live. At 32, I landed a job as executive assistant to Dan Johnson, this smooth-talking business development guy at a medical tech company. He was 9 years older. From day one we clicked. We were unstoppable at work. Sales were up, management loved us, I got promoted. For the first time, I felt like I had a life that was mine. The job? It meant more travel, a lot more. I was away 3 weeks out of every month. Dan was usually with me. Alan had to hold it down at home, with the girls, his job, everything. Dan and I spent hours together. Airports, dinners, long drives. He'd married young too, had 3 kids. I lied to Alan, said I travelled mostly alone or with another assistant. Told him Dan was a pain. Truth was, I couldn't get enough of him. We had this thing. We'd find small, out-of-the-way restaurants on trips. Good food, good wine, and we'd just talk. One night, 6 months into the job, we closed a huge deal. We went all out. Fancy dinner, a bottle of champagne. At some point, Dan took my hand, looked me in the eye and said, "Amy, I think I'm falling for you." My heart stopped. I couldn't even breathe. He stood up, reached for my hand. I didn't think. I just took it. He led me back to his room. The next morning, we ordered breakfast together. Our flight was late, so we took our time. On the plane, I felt like trash. Guilty as hell. I tried to convince myself I deserved one night. I'd never been with anyone but Alan. Maybe I was owed this. Then it hit me. I'd forgotten Emma's birthday. She turned 11 that day, and I didn't even call. I looked over at Dan, and he smiled, gave my hand a gentle squeeze. And I knew. I was in this. Deep. When I got home, guilt crashed down on me. Alan was all smiles, pulled me into a hug. I pulled away. Later that night, when he tried to get close, I pushed him off. "I'm just tired," I mumbled. And I was tired. But mostly, I was sore. From Dan. That was the first time I ever rejected Alan like that. Fast forward 18 months, we were still going strong. The guilt? Gone. I got used to lying, hiding everything. Dan had my whole heart now, whether I admitted it or not. I didn't even think twice about deceiving Alan anymore. Dan and I were pros at this. We never acted close at work. No inside jokes, no lunch dates, nothing. We even had fake email accounts off the company grid, never met up in town. At office parties, we stuck to our spouses. I introduced Alan to Dan, and Dan introduced his wife to us. We made small talk, smiled, then went our separate ways, like nothing was up. At home, I'd complain about how awful Dan was, and how much I hated traveling. Alan kept asking why I didn't just get another job. I said the money was too good. Truth, I wasn't giving up Dan for anything. No one ever suspected a thing, not at work, not at home. Alan was proud of me, I think, but he was frustrated too. He was raising 2 girls mostly on his own while holding down an IT job. I still cared about him in some distant way, but we were fading fast. He was buried in work and parenting. I realized, with a dull ache in my chest, that the love between us had gone quiet. I made a mental note that night. Do something. Try to fix things. But deep down, I already knew. I didn't want to fix them. I just didn't want to lose what I had with Dan.
Things didn't exactly kick off easy for us. Amy and I were still practically kids when we became parents. She got pregnant at 16, we tied the knot at 18, and then baby number 2 came not long after that. Most people would have said we were doomed from the start. And honestly, maybe they weren't wrong. But we had each other. That counted for something. Through a mix of grit, sleepless nights, and just pure stubbornness, we somehow pulled it off. We both managed to get college degrees while raising 2 little girls. I went into IT, and Amy got a degree in commerce. It wasn't easy, not by a long shot, but we did it as a team. We blocked out the noise, ignored the struggles, and kept moving because love kept us going. A couple years back, Amy landed her first real job out of school. She was pumped. Over the moon. And honestly, I was proud. We'd worked so hard to get to this point. Both of us with careers, good money coming in, finally starting to live like adults who didn't have the weight of the world on their shoulders. It felt like a new chapter. At first, I was all in. I encouraged her, cheered her on, told her how proud I was every chance I got. But then, things started to shift. She was leaving the house before 7 a.m. and didn't get back until 6 o'clock, sometimes even later. Most weeks, she'd be out of town for work at least 1 or 2 nights, sometimes more. Some weeks, she wouldn't even make it home till Saturday afternoon. And when she was home during the week, she'd either bury herself in more work after dinner or crash in front of the TV, barely saying a word. Saturdays were for sleeping in and shopping. Sundays, gym in the morning, then brunch with her girls. And by Sunday evening, she'd be so wiped out she didn't want to do anything. Not with me, not with the kids. Family time, pretty much non-existent. And vacations, those were always bad timing or too much going on at work. So it ended up being just me and the girls most of the time. And the more time passed, the more I started noticing a change in her. The woman I married, the one who laughed at my dumb jokes, who cuddled with me in bed, who made burnt pancakes on Sundays just because the girls loved them. She wasn't around anymore. What I got instead was someone cold, distant, irritable. She had a short fuse and 0 patience. It was like she was just some stranger crashing in my bed every night. And any time I tried to talk about it, it's in your head. I'm just tired, okay? Don't I work hard for this family? Everything's fine. She brushed me off like I was being dramatic. But I wasn't. I could feel something wasn't right. Toward the end of that year, she invited me to her company's Christmas party, fancy gig at the CEO's mansion. I didn't really want to go, but I figured I should. I'd never met her boss, Dan, and it felt like the right thing to do. So I put on a suit and played the part. Dan seemed all right, reserved, but friendly enough. We made polite small talk, nothing deep. His wife was lovely, too, really sweet. What struck me as strange was how quickly they moved on after we spoke. I expected more of a conversation, considering Amy was his executive assistant, but they just floated away into the crowd. Then I noticed Amy. She looked tense, fidgety. She had this thing where she'd start talking way too fast when she was nervous, something I'd seen maybe 100 times before. She was doing that now, bouncing around conversations like her shoes were on fire. I remember thinking, why is she so jumpy around a guy she sees every day? I didn't press the thought too hard. I trusted her. Still, it stuck with me. The following year was chaotic. I launched my own IT consulting company, and that took nearly all my energy. On top of that, I was basically raising our daughters solo. Amy's schedule got even crazier. More travel, more nights away, more distance, physically and emotionally. And she wasn't just distant anymore. She was different, cold, dismissive, like I was just some background noise she had to tolerate. We barely touched each other anymore. I couldn't remember the last time she kissed me without it feeling forced. And if anything happened between us, it felt transactional, empty. Something was broken. Then came the next Christmas party, same setup, same vibe. Dan greeted me like we'd never met. Amy was acting weird again. And suddenly, I had this gut feeling, like something was being kept from me. For the first time since we'd been 18, I started to wonder, was there someone else? It messed me up inside. We had built a life together. 2 kids, 2 degrees, a house, everything. We had beat the odds. Could she really throw that all away? I didn't go full paranoid husband. I didn't hire a private eye or dig into her emails. But I did start watching more closely, trying to see the signs. And you know what I found? Nothing. Either I was overthinking or she was damn good at hiding it. But deep down, I knew the spark between us had fizzled. And maybe I'd been too wrapped up in work and the kids to realize it was gone. Speaking of the kids, they were growing up fast. We were tight, the 3 of us. The girls and I did everything together. They were both really into soccer, so every Saturday during the season, I was at their games, cheering like a lunatic. That was the highlight of my week. After one of those matches, Emma came up to me with one of her new teammates. "Hey, Dad, this is Callie. Can I go hang out at her place this afternoon?" I smiled at the girl. She was tall, confident with this big, gorgeous smile. Super athletic, too. She'd scored twice in her first game. "Nice to meet you, Callie." "Sure, Emma, just as long as her parents are cool with it." Callie turned around and shouted, "Mom, can Emma come over?" That's when her mom started walking toward us, and holy hell, I froze. She looked just like her daughter, only older, obviously, but she was absolutely stunning, like take your breath away beautiful. Confident, graceful, kind. She smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Sophie." And in that moment, I forgot how to speak. We chatted for a bit. She said Emma was welcome over anytime, and I think I mumbled something stupid in response. I couldn't even remember what I said afterward. I was still trying to process her face. As they walked away, my girls burst into giggles. I must have looked like a total idiot. Later that night, Emma told me a bit about Sophie. Apparently, she was a single mom. Her husband died in a car accident 3 years ago. She'd been raising Callie and her younger son, Tom, all by herself ever since. That part caught my attention. The next Saturday, while I was watching another one of Emma's games with Lauren, Sophie and her son came over and asked if they could sit with us. I told myself to act normal this time. Don't be a dork. We ended up talking a lot during the match. She had just moved to town for a new job and didn't know many people yet. She said she was glad Callie had made a friend like Emma. Then she smiled at me and said, "You're very polite. You don't see that much these days." And I swear to God, that little compliment hit harder than anything Amy had said to me in months, maybe years. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. After the game, Emma ran up to me, excited. "Hey, Dad, can Callie come over to our place today?" "Sure, sweetie," I said, then turned to Sophie. "If that's cool with you, of course." Sophie smiled. "Yeah, that's totally fine. Actually, why doesn't she just come with you now? We were thinking of grabbing lunch. You guys like sushi?" Callie lit up. "I love sushi." "Perfect," Sophie said. "Actually, why don't all of you join us? It'd be fun." I kind of froze for a second. I was still trying to get used to being around Sophie without acting like a complete idiot. Thanks. That's really kind of you, but I don't want to intrude on your family time." Before I could weasel my way out, Lauren jumped in. "Come on, Dad, let her come. I'd love to have another woman around to talk to for once." "You're not in the way at all, Sophie. Please say yes." Sophie looked at me like she needed my okay. "If you're sure I'm not crashing your lunch, Alan, I'd actually love that." I gave some awkward half smile and nodded, probably mumbling something stupid again. As we all walked to our cars, Lauren leaned in close to me, smirking. "She likes you," she whispered, grinning like she just cracked some big secret. Lunch turned out better than I expected. The girls, Emma, Lauren, Callie, and Sophie, talked nonstop for almost 2 hours. Tom and I mostly hung back, talking about computers, soccer, video games, guy stuff. He seemed happy to have another dude around, and honestly, I liked the kid. Smart, funny, curious. At one point, I overheard Sophie casually ask my daughters, "So, does your mom ever come to any of your games?" Lauren didn't even hesitate. "Nope, never," she said, kind of blunt. "She's not really into us. Work and herself, that's pretty much her world." Dad's our mom too, honestly. He's the only one who's really there. I caught Sophie glance over at me, quiet and thoughtful. From then on, it kind of became a thing. Every Saturday after a game, we'd grab lunch together. Emma and Callie got real close and started alternating play dates, sometimes after school, sometimes on weekends. Tom would come over with his sister occasionally, but most of the time he seemed to want to hang with me. We'd mess with computer stuff, kick a ball around, ride bikes, just chill. Lauren also started spending more time at Sophie's house. Sometimes I'd catch them coming back from the mall, coffee in hand, chatting like old friends. What stuck with me, though, was that none of us ever mentioned Sophie to Amy, and none of us mentioned Amy to Sophie either. It was like those two worlds didn't mix, and maybe they weren't supposed to. Sophie and I started growing closer too. Nothing romantic, not yet, but there was a quiet, honest connection building. We were both basically single parents trying to keep it together, and helping each other just made life easier. Once the soccer season ended, our kids started doing their own weekend stuff, hangouts, field trips, birthday parties. And with Amy always working or gone, I had more and more free time. Saturdays turned into Sophie and Alan time. Lunches, long walks, movies on our couch. And yeah, I looked forward to those days way more than I wanted to admit. Somewhere along the way, I realized it. I was falling for her. But we never crossed that line. Not even close. We respected each other too much. And I wasn't the cheating type. One afternoon, we were sitting on her porch, sipping coffee, just enjoying the quiet. I looked over at her and said, "You know, Lauren never shuts up about you when she gets home. It's always—" Sophie said this. Sophie showed me that. "I think she's got a girl crush." Sophie laughed. "Well, same goes for Tom. He's always talking about you. Alan's so cool. Alan taught me this. Alan showed me that. Honestly, I'm just glad he has a good guy around. He really needs that. I appreciate you spending time with him." Then her tone changed, more serious. She looked me right in the eye. "Can I say something kind of blunt?" "Of course," I said. It's pretty clear things aren't exactly okay between you and your wife." There it was, the thing we never talked about. I went silent, sat there for a good 30 seconds, just staring into my cup like it had the answer. "Yeah," I finally said. "You're right. If it weren't for the girls, I think I'd have been out a long time ago. It's been rough for years. I've tried talking to her so many times, but it's like running into a wall. I think Lauren told you a bit about how we ended up married." "She did," Sophie nodded. "She feels like it's her fault, though. Like you got stuck because of her." "She's wrong," I said quickly. "I tell her that all the time. None of this is her fault." And that was it. The floodgates opened. I poured everything out. Every hurt, every frustration, every lonely night. Sophie just listened. Really listened. No judgment, just kindness. When I finally stopped talking, she got up and walked over to me, wrapping her arms around me. A real, full-on, no-words-needed hug. I hadn't felt that in so long, I almost forgot what it was like. "I'm here, okay?" she said softly. "Anytime you need me." I hugged her back and didn't let go for a long time. Then the year turned. Christmas rolled around again, and Amy's office had their usual fancy holiday party. We showed up together, playing the happy couple act, like we had the past 2 years. Dan, her boss, greeted us just like before, shook my hand, small talk, nothing much. But this time I was watching, really watching, and something felt off. Amy and Dan weren't stiff around each other anymore. They were relaxed, too relaxed, laughing too easily, sharing little glances. My gut started talking again. Later that night, Amy said she was going to the bathroom. A few minutes later, I spotted Dan heading up the stairs, real casual-like. Something in me just snapped. I followed. She wasn't in the bathroom. I walked the upstairs hallway quiet. Then I saw it, a slightly open door to one of the bedrooms, and I heard her voice. "Merry Christmas, babe." Then a man's voice, low and warm. "Merry Christmas, my love." I peeked through the crack, and there they were. Amy and Dan, arms wrapped tight around each other, kissing like they hadn't a care in the world. It felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I backed away, walked downstairs in a daze, trying not to lose it. I didn't blow up. I didn't cause a scene. That's not me. I needed to be smart. Think this through. Amy came back a few minutes later, slightly out of breath, playing the role of the doting wife again. I played my part too, but I had a plan now. That night, after she went to bed, I stayed up and started digging. I'm in tech. Hacking's not exactly hard for me. And Amy? She should have known better. Her personal computer, her phone, her work email, her hidden accounts. It was all there. Everything, photos, messages, videos, years worth of lies. Turned out she'd been sleeping with Dan for over 2 years. They'd even talked about running off together. She wanted it. He was the cautious one. Still, the betrayal was deep. I couldn't believe how blind I'd been. I installed a covert system on her devices. I could track everything from now on. Location, messages, calls. It wasn't about spying anymore. It was about protection. My marriage was done. Now, my focus was on keeping my daughters safe, keeping my business locked down, and making damn sure Amy didn't get the chance to screw me over any more than she already had. After the holidays, I finally sat down with a divorce lawyer. She explained that in our state, it's a no-fault divorce zone, so I couldn't drag Amy to court for cheating. Infidelity didn't matter legally. But when it came to custody, there was a silver lining. Once a kid turns 14, they get a say in who they want to live with. Emma would be 14 in 6 months. The lawyer also helped me figure out how to shield my company from being bled dry in the divorce. Her advice? Lay low, keep things quiet, and wait it out. That gave me time to set the stage, and meant I had to pretend everything was fine at home for a while longer. I told Sophie what I'd found out. I thought I'd be the one breaking down, but instead, she started crying, caught me off guard. I just wrapped my arms around her and held her while she got it out. Then she opened up. Her husband, the one who died in that car accident? Turns out he wasn't alone. His secretary was with him. After his passing, Sophie found out they'd been having an affair. So not only did she lose her husband, she had to grieve while dealing with betrayal. That hit hard. Once she pulled herself together, we kept talking. I told her my plan. To leave Amy after Emma turned 14. She gave me a small smile. "You've got this," she said. "And when you're ready, you won't be alone." The first step was convincing Amy we'd outgrown our little starter home. I told her, since we were both making decent money, we should sell the house and rent something bigger while we looked for the one. She was all in. We sold the house fast and moved into a rental nearby. Lease was 6 months, short and sweet. Once we moved, I came down with a nasty cold and used it as an excuse to move into the guest room. Told her I didn't want her getting sick. Truth was, I couldn't stand sharing a bed with her anymore. I never moved back in. And weirdly enough, she didn't ask. Maybe she didn't care. Or maybe she liked the space, too. Next, I talked to my dad, who I'd finally confided in, and asked him to start a new IT company under his name, just on paper. I became his only employee. Then I quietly shut down my own business and started working under his. It gave me cover and protected what I'd built. Everything was going smooth, until Lauren came to me one afternoon, looking nervous as hell. My first thought was, oh no, she's pregnant, please, not this again. "Dad," she said, "this is really hard for me to say, but Mom's having an affair with her boss." I just stared at her, speechless. "What makes you say that?" I asked gently. "Well," she said, "a while back, Emma and I went to the old house to pick up some stuff she left behind. Mom was there. And so was Dan." "That's weird," I admitted. "But it doesn't exactly prove anything. I've known for a while, Dad. I just didn't know how to tell you." "Emma saw them too?" "Yeah," she nodded. I looked over and called, "Emma?" She peeked around the corner, clearly listening the whole time, and came in shyly. I pulled both girls in and hugged them tight. I could only imagine how hard this was for them. "I need you two to keep a very big secret," I told them. They nodded in sync. "I'm planning to leave your mom, but we've got to wait until Emma turns 14 so you both can legally choose who to live with." Without skipping a beat, they both shouted, "We're living with you." That broke something in me. I smiled, even though my chest was heavy. "It's not going to be easy," I warned. "We can't let her know anything. She can't suspect a thing." They nodded again, like we were some undercover team. Later that week, I asked Sophie if she could have a little heart-to-heart with Lauren. She'd just started seeing her first boyfriend, and I didn't want her repeating her mom's mistakes. Thankfully, with Amy barely showing her face at home, it wasn't hard to keep the peace and the secret. The less Amy was around, the better life felt. We started spending more time with Sophie and her kids. Lunches, movie nights, weekends at each other's places. It was starting to feel like a real family. One Friday afternoon, Amy told me she was going to be at a conference all weekend. I knew better. She was holed up in a hotel with her boss. That evening, Lauren walked into the kitchen. "Dad, I'm babysitting for Sophie tonight." "Oh yeah? What's she doing?" "She's got a dinner date at Brasserie Paris." I stiffened. "That's the fancy French place in town. The one you book when you're trying to impress someone. My stomach twisted. Lauren rolled her eyes. Relax. She's going on a date with you, dummy. What? I made the reservation. Call her. Ask her out. Like, for real? I hesitated. What if she says no? I mean, we've always been just friends. I don't want to make things weird. Lauren just shook her head. And you're the one with a college degree, seriously? Call her. She handed me her phone. So I did. And the moment Sophie picked up and heard my voice, I knew. She was thrilled. She said yes without missing a beat, like she'd been hoping I'd finally get a clue. That night, it took me 3 outfit changes before the girls were satisfied. Just as I was about to leave, Callie and Tom walked in the door. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, Lauren said casually. They're sleeping over here tonight. So don't worry about getting back early, or even at all. She smirked and handed me an overnight bag, already packed. Clearly, the kids had teamed up on this one. When I got to Sophie's place, she opened the door, and I froze. Oh my God, I breathed. She looked stunning. She spun around playfully. Well, say something. I'm speechless. Do you like it? Like doesn't even begin to cover it, Sophie. Dinner was amazing. The food, the atmosphere, the conversation, everything. It felt easy and electric at the same time. The kind of night that stays in your head for years. As we reached her front door, I stopped. I know the kids set this up so I'd stay the night, but you don't have to. Shh, she whispered, taking my hand. I'm counting on it. She led me inside, straight to her bedroom. I didn't resist. At first, we were slow, careful. But the second I kissed her, it felt like all the loneliness and stress I'd been carrying just melted away. And for the first time in years, I felt alive again. The next morning, we were still wrapped up in the warmth of the night before, when we heard a lot of movement, footsteps, voices, and then a soft knock on the bedroom door. A second later, it creaked open and Lauren poked her head in. Morning, lovebirds. It's almost 10. We got tired of waiting for you, so we're invading. Breakfast is happening downstairs in 20. Oh, and I was going to ask if you had a good night, but judging by your face, I already know. She flashed a smug grin. Outside, we heard giggles and footsteps retreating down the hallway. I turned to Sophie, smiling. How the hell did we end up with such amazing kids? Breakfast was incredible. The food, the energy, it actually felt like a real family morning. Warm, easy, happy. Later, back at home, I felt like I needed to explain myself to the girls. I still had that lingering guilt, like I owed them some sort of justification for what had happened between Sophie and me, even though Amy had left our marriage emotionally years ago. They both just rolled their eyes. Dad, Emma said, it's about time you started smiling again. You're not really married to Mom anymore, not where it counts. She checked out a long time ago. So what's the grand plan here, you little co-conspirators? I asked. Lauren shrugged, dead serious. It's simple. Emma and I want a mom. Callie and Tom want a dad. You and Sophie are perfect for each other. It just makes sense. Even if I agreed, I said, what makes you think Sophie feels the same? Lauren tilted her head. Seriously? Dad, come on. You really can't see how she looks at you? I mean, do I get any kind of vote in this? Nope, they said in unison. None whatsoever. They thought it was hilarious. Honestly, I didn't stand a chance. They were running the show now. A few days later, during dinner with all 6 of us around the table, I casually mentioned I'd be checking out houses that weekend. Sophie raised an eyebrow. What kind of house are you thinking? I want something close to the beach. 2 stories, big family room, a space where the kids can hang out, big backyard and a pool, and definitely 6 bedrooms, just in case the family grows. You never know. Then I locked eyes with her, and it needs to be a place that a woman I'm absolutely crazy about might fall in love with too. Sophie stared at me for a moment, just quiet. Then she walked over, leaned down, and kissed me, right there in front of everyone, long and deep. The kind of kiss that left no questions. When we finally came up for air, the kids were frozen for half a second, and then exploded with joy, laughing, dancing, clapping. It was chaos in the best possible way. That was a yes. After weeks of searching, we found the perfect place. We bought it together. She used her late husband's life insurance. I used the proceeds from the sale of my house. It was a fresh start. And just in time, too, because Amy's curtain call was coming. Emma's 14th birthday, our legal tipping point, was fast approaching. Then, right on cue, Amy said she'd be gone for a week to attend a big work conference on the West Coast. Of course, I checked her emails later. She wasn't going to a conference. She was flying off to Bali with Dan, her boss, to celebrate what they were calling their third wedding anniversary. A vacation for two cheaters disguised as separate family trips so their coworkers wouldn't catch on. She planned it like this. She'd leave work one day early, fly out solo. Dan would follow a day later. They'd meet in paradise, play house, and then stagger their return flights so no one would suspect anything. Amateurs. They were getting sloppy. It was like they didn't even care to cover their tracks anymore. Once Amy took off for her little conference, we wasted no time. We packed up and moved into the new house. Sophie and the kids had already settled in a month earlier. We made it official. And then, karma showed up. The very night Amy landed in Bali, Mount Agung, an active volcano, decided it had waited long enough and started erupting. Ash everywhere. Total chaos. Flights in and out of Bali? Shut down. Indefinitely. Dan never made it. Amy was stuck, alone, on their anniversary. I swear, I laughed so hard I thought I was going to pass out. You couldn't write that kind of poetic justice if you tried. The volcano kept acting up. Airports stayed closed. The lovebirds couldn't reunite, and it was clearly getting to them. I checked Amy's emails and texts daily, just for fun, watching her spiral from, "This is romantic," to, "Why is this your fault, Dan?" was pure entertainment. She called me occasionally, pretending to be neck-deep in workshops and meetings. I played along. "How's the hotel?" I'd ask casually. "How's the weather in San Diego, right?" Later, I'd check her browser history and find frantic searches like "weather in San Diego today" and "conference hotels with spas." She was scrambling to keep her story straight. It was pitiful. Back home, the six of us were settling in just fine. I had my lawyer file for legal separation. We also submitted signed statements from both girls saying they wanted to live with me. I got temporary custody almost immediately. As Amy's supposed return date neared, Bali was still a no-fly zone. I had no idea how she was going to cover this up. One night, she called sounding shaky. "Alan, I made some great business connections out here, and Dan wants me to follow up with a few before heading back. I might need to stay a few more days." I didn't even blink. "Of course, honey." Totally understandable. She didn't use video, thank God. I couldn't have kept a straight face. Another week passed. Still no return. I watched her messages to Dan get snippier. He told people at the office that Amy had a family emergency and had to extend her vacation. He even called me, all polite and apologetic. "I hope you understand, Alan. This is a big opportunity for the company." "Absolutely," I said, calm as ever. "These things happen." Then I casually dropped, "By the way, where did Amy say she was going again?" There was a pause. He fumbled for city names, trying to sound confident. I noted everything he said. Later that night, I passed on Dan's version of the story to Amy, just so she'd know what lies she needed to keep up. I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was letting her unravel herself and making sure she had to work damn hard to keep the pieces from falling apart. And watching it all from a quiet, beautiful home with people who actually loved me, that was the best part. When Amy called from her little work trip, I kept my game face on, acting like nothing was up. I played the loyal, clueless husband, but every now and then I'd throw in a random question just to watch her squirm. "So, hey," I said one day, real casual, "did you catch the news about that volcano in Bali? Whole island's grounded. People can't get home." There was a pause. Then she replied, "Yeah, I heard something about it. Didn't really pay attention, though." I leaned in. "Crazy, right? One of my coworkers, Paul Howard, remember him? Met him and his wife a few months back. He's stuck at the Grand Hyatt in Nusa Dua. At least it's a nice place to be stranded." Silence on the line. Then a little squeak. That was her hotel. Paul had never been to Bali in his life. Less than an hour later, she checked out and moved to some cheap spot on the other side of the island. Must have been praying she could still salvage the lie. Of course, back at home, all 5 girls and my newly adopted son found it hilarious. Yeah, Sophie's kids were mine now too. We were one big, happy, chaos-filled team. After nearly 3 weeks, the volcano chilled out, flights resumed, and Amy finally called to say she was heading home that Friday. I waited for her at the old rental, the one we'd already left behind like everything else between us. I set the scene deliberately. One lamp on, half a bottle of wine breathing on the table, quiet, still, heavy. She came in looking wrecked, but not in a long day of work kind of way. Her skin was glowing, bronzed like she'd stepped off a yacht. Hair still with that salty, wind-blown look. Tropical. Definitely not corporate. No hug, no smile. I didn't even move. I just raised an eyebrow. Damn, I said. Hell of a tan for sitting in breakout sessions. She flinched, just a bit. Mumbled. We had afternoons off, like that explained anything. I tilted my head toward the chair. Sit down. Have a glass of wine with me. I'm exhausted, Alan. I just want to shower and crash before dinner. I bet you are. But nah, this can't wait. Girls are at that sleepover, remember? House is quiet. Perfect for grown-up talk. Sit. She hesitated. Looked at me like she already knew something was coming and just didn't know how deep the knife would go. She sat down slow. I poured the wine. Let the silence stretch before I spoke. Amy, we've both felt it. Things between us haven't been right in a long time, and I've tried. God knows I've tried. But I'm done pretending we're still something we're not. She stared, said nothing. I met someone, I said. Calm, clear, no drama. I didn't plan it. Wasn't looking, but she makes me feel like I'm alive again, like I matter. Pause. I'm leaving. Her whole face snapped. Panic, then rage, just like that. You're what? She barked. After everything I've done? After all the years I've cleaned up your damn messes and made this family run while you played Mr. Midlife Crisis? I didn't move. You think you can just walk out? Like you're some kind of sufferer here? Who is she, huh? Who's the little tramp you've been screwing while I was working my A off to keep this family together? I let her rant. Let it wash over me like cold rain. 5 full minutes of spitfire. Every insult, every accusation, every bitter little jab she'd been waiting to throw since she got back. When she finally ran out of steam, I looked her straight in the eye. I get it. You're pissed. That's fair. But this isn't a fight, Amy. It's not a debate, it's a decision. One I've already made. I stood up, tossed back the last of the wine. I'll swing by tomorrow around 4. We'll sort through the logistics. And then I walked out. Left her sitting there, tanned, furious, and alone. The second I walked back into the new house, everyone was waiting. How'd it go? Sophie asked. Better than I could have hoped, I said, grabbing a slice of pizza. We all crashed on the couch, watched a movie, and turned our phones off to ignore Amy's incoming text tornado. I told the girls not to block her completely, just enough space to breathe. Why didn't I confront her with proof of the affair? Because this hurt more, way more. I'd beaten her at her own game. That night, I made love to Sophie. Not just Zex, real love, the kind that makes everything else fade away. Amy, who? The next day, I went back to the old rental, folder in hand, clean clothes, clean conscience. I'd already left the marriage. Now I was just cleaning up the mess. I stepped into the kitchen and saw them both. Amy, with that familiar fake calm, and Claire beside her, arms folded like some budget TV lawyer. Fitting, she always acted like she ran crap. Reading her emails to Amy, egging her on to keep cheating, to live her truth. Yeah, that confirmed everything I ever thought about her. I barely sat down before Claire came out swinging. You've got some goddamn nerve, she snapped. Amy's been breaking her back for this family while you've been off playing the poor, neglected husband. You don't get to disappear and take everything with you. I stared at her for a beat, then looked at Amy. She wouldn't meet my eyes, guilt all over her face, but still trying to act like the sufferer. I'm honestly impressed, I said, calm as hell. Didn't think you'd have the balls to invite your little cheerleader to the funeral. Amy tensed. Claire looked like she wanted to throw something. I kept going. I've been silent a long time. Let you both talk your crap, lie to my face, smile at family dinners like everything was fine. And you figured if I knew, I'd lose my mind, burn it all down. But guess what? I didn't have to. You did it for me. Amy rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. Really? I leaned forward. When was the last time we had Zex that didn't feel like a mercy favor? Or when you looked me in the eye and didn't seem a million miles away? No answer. I'll tell you when it ended, 3 years ago. You got back from one of your conferences, forgot Emma's birthday, and barely said hi to the girls. That night we had Zex, not love. Just some half-assed performance to keep the peace. That was the last time I felt anything from you. She looked away. Good. Emma cried herself to sleep. Called you 12 times. Nothing. And 2 weeks ago, on her 14th, you forgot again. Claire tried to cut in, but I held up a hand. Nope, you don't get to talk yet. I looked at Amy. After that first trip, something broke. You came back colder, harder. Like you'd made a choice somewhere on that flight and just never told me. They were both squirming now, avoiding eye contact. Good. We've been sleeping in separate rooms for 6 months. When was the last time we went out? Took a weekend away? Had dinner just the two of us? You vacation with your coworkers and come home like you're doing us a favor. Amy opened her mouth, but I wasn't finished. And even when you're here, you're not here. You float through the house like a ghost. The girls stopped asking when you'd be around. They stopped expecting you to show up. I let that hang. Anyway, I said, dropping the folder on the table, this is done, I'm moving on. And we're gonna do this the smart way or the hard way. I don't care which. Amy's eyes flared. Who is she? You've met her daughter, Callie, Emma's best friend. Her mom's name is Sophie. We met at the soccer games, started as friends, turned into more, she's real. And she actually gives a damn. Claire scoffed. So this is your big fantasy? You and some divorced soccer mom playing house? I slid the folder toward them. This is what reality looks like. I opened it and started going tab by tab. Calm, cold, like a surgeon. Tab A, separation agreement, already filed, 2 weeks ago. Tab B, divorce petition, sign it or fight it. I don't care. Tab C, financial settlement. Tab D, lease on this place. It's up in 3 weeks. If you want to stay, it's on you. Tab E, utilities, all set to cancel. Take them over or enjoy the dark. Tab F, bank records. I pulled 60% of the joint account for the girls and the new house. The rest, yours. Credit cards, too. Your debt now. Tab G, custody order. The girls chose me. The court agreed. Child support's automatic. You've got visitation. Be grateful. Claire looked like she'd been slapped. Amy looked gutted. Claire finally snapped. You sneaky son of a witch. You planned this behind her back like a damn snake. You think you're gonna keep the kids and walk off into the sunset? Think again. We'll tear you apart in court. I laughed, low and sharp. You think I'd come in here half prepared? I've been planning this since Christmas. Remember the staff party, Amy? That was the night. The exact moment I realized I was done pretending. Amy blinked, lost in the memory. Claire was boiling. So that whole selling the house to buy something new was just a setup? Yep, I said. And the company? Shut it down months ago. I work under my dad's firm now. It's his name on everything. You can't touch it. Claire gritted her teeth. And the new house? Bought it after filing legal separation. Not a joint asset. Paid with proceeds from the sale of our house. Because I have custody. All by the book. All clean. Then I added, with just enough venom, and under state law, once a kid turns 14, they get to choose where they live. They chose me. Claire hissed. You brainwashed them. No, Amy did that. By vanishing. For years. I turned to Amy. My tone changed. Still sharp, but honest. You want back in their lives? Start showing up. Start earning it. They don't need a mom with a good job title. They need a mom who's present. She's not a bad mother, Claire snapped. I looked straight at her. Then named the last time she packed a school lunch, bought a damn birthday gift, helped with homework, took them to a doctor, or even sat through an entire dinner without scrolling through her phone. Amy didn't say a word. She looked like she couldn't. I stood. They asked if you'd meet them tomorrow, 10 a.m. cafe by the beach. They didn't want to, but I asked them to give it a shot. Amy nodded, small, almost ashamed. I didn't say another word. I just walked out. That night, back at our home, the girls asked how it went. Exactly the way it needed to, I said. The next day, after the meetup, Emma and Lauren told me everything. Apparently, Amy spent the entire time trash-talking me and trying to guilt them into coming back to live with her. They eventually got up to go to the bathroom and just left. No drama. No scene. Just gone. And honestly, I didn't understand why Amy even wanted to fix things. She hadn't cared in years. I was starting to think maybe, to her, I was just the guy who kept the house running. Cook, chauffeur, live-in babysitter.
When Alan told me he was leaving for someone else, I was stunned. Just blindsided. I mean, I thought we were solid. I thought he loved me. I tried to talk to fix things, but he'd already checked out. The only time we talked after that was during the handoffs with our daughters. The girls weren't exactly thrilled to see me either. Our visits turned into awkward silences and eye rolls. And when I dropped them off, they run into the arms of their new stepmom like it was some kind of performance. Eventually, I just told them, don't come over unless you actually want to. Thing is, I thought I had it all figured out. A sweet little double life. Dan on the road, Alan at home. Comfort, sex, security, pick your combo. I didn't think Alan would actually leave, so when he did, that hit different. It broke me. At first I told myself it came out of nowhere. But the truth is, I'd been gone for a long time, checked out, all my energy, my affection, my attention. It went to Dan. Alan? He got the leftovers, the real surprise, that he stuck around as long as he did. After he left, everything unravelled. I couldn't afford the house or even child support. Ended up in this tiny beat-up apartment eating takeout every night, half watching Netflix and spiralling. And Dan? The minute I became available, he started fading. Said he was busy with the kids or slammed at work. He started sending me on trips solo, said I could handle it. When we did see each other, the spark was just gone. Then one day, 6 months after the split, he dropped the bomb. He was quitting and moving out of state for a new job. Please don't contact me again, I told him. Tears streaming, heart cracked open. Boom. Just like that, I was divorced, alone, and wrecked. I kept thinking of that damn Joni Mitchell line. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Yeah, that one hit hard. And just to twist the knife, Alan was glowing. New woman, new life. She was stunning, sweet, impossible to hate. Watching him laugh and smile with her was like getting punched in the gut. Because I remembered that version of him, that smile. He used to smile like that with me, when we were just two dumb kids trying to raise a family and still finding ways to laugh through the chaos. My girls, they were happier too, treated Sophie like mum. I was the awkward visitor they barely tolerated. It broke me in places I didn't even know existed. One day I cracked. I told them how lonely and lost I felt. Lauren just looked at me deadpan and said, "So, you left Dad, huh?" I wasn't perfect, I know, I messed up. But he left me for someone else, I snapped. She didn't blink. No, Mum, he left because you were screwing your boss for 3 years. I swear the blood drained out of my face. That moment, full body shame. I realised Alan knew all along and never said a word. And now my daughters knew too. I'd lost everything and deserved it. To his credit, Alan never badmouthed me to the girls. He told them to keep in touch, and slowly, painfully, they started coming around again. Sometimes they'd even stay over. One night, while dropping them off, I asked him, "Hey, can we talk?" We got out of the car. I turned toward him, heart pounding. "Lauren told me you knew about Dan. I'm sorry, Alan. You didn't deserve any of it. I was selfish and blind. I got exactly what I had coming." He just gave a quiet nod. "Why didn't you tell me you knew?" "By the time I figured it out, it was already too late." "When?" "That office Christmas party last year. I saw you sneak off with him. Did a little digging. Found out everything." I felt like the ground opened up beneath me. "I got to admit," he added, "I laughed a little when you got stranded in Bali alone." Oh God, I covered my face. "You must have hated me." "I was angry," he said. "Still am a little. But I figured the best punishment wasn't yelling. It was silence. Let you squirm. I also looked into your boss. Turns out you weren't the first assistant he's bedded. He's got a pattern. Charm, screw, ditch. I figured if I made a scene, maybe his wife would leave him and you'd end up together. But if I said nothing, well, he'd do what he always does. Leave you hanging." "You got your revenge," I whispered. "My life's a dumpster fire now." He didn't argue, just stood there. "I'm sorry," I said. "Really, I got lost in all of it. The rush, the attention. I forgot about you, the girls, everything that mattered." "I've made peace with it, Amy," he said. "I forgive you. Strange thing is, I wouldn't be with Sophie if you hadn't cheated." I looked down. "Yeah, that's what hurts the most." "We were too young when it all started," he said. "You're not a bad person. Just made a bad call. That guy was a pro. You never really had a shot." "Maybe, but why did you tell the girls? That crushed me." "I didn't," he said. "They told me." "What?" "They came back to the old house after we moved out. You were there with him, in the living room. It hit me like a freight train. I'd blocked it out. Now it came rushing back. Every detail. What did they see? Pretty much everything. Even Emma. Lauren gave me the full play-by-play. I dropped to my knees, sobbing. Couldn't breathe. Didn't care who saw. Alan stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. I buried my face in his chest and cried harder than I ever had. He carried me inside, laid me on the couch. Sophie was there. Kind, gentle. She made me tea. Said I should stay for dinner. I sat at the table, watching them all smile, laugh, be a family. And it hit me. This is the life I threw away. Later, as I got up to leave, Alan grabbed my shoulders. Amy, he said, looking me right in the eye, stop punishing yourself. We were too young when we started all this. We did the best we could. 14 years is no small thing. And despite everything, we raised 2 amazing daughters. That's a win. You're right, I said. Then I gave a sad smile. But I made another mistake. Oh? Sophie's pregnant, he said softly. We're getting married sooner than planned. I laughed through the tears. Man, you sure do make a lot of mistakes, huh? You're a good man, Alan. Better than I deserved. I really do wish you the best. I hugged him, kissed his cheek, and walked away. Yeah, my seat's taken now. All I can do is hope that someday, maybe I'll get lucky again. But deep down, I know men like him don't come around twice.
Why did I forgive her so easily? A few reasons, really. First, because carrying around hate, it eats you alive, makes you bitter, hollow. And second, she was already being punished every single day just by watching me live a better life with Sophie. That was its own kind of justice. I did love Amy once. That was real. Even if things broke beyond repair, a small, stubborn thread still connected us. But as much as part of me wanted to get back at her. The truth was, my real target was always Dan, her boss, the guy who seduced her and helped wreck our marriage. So yeah, I went after him. I got into his computer by sending him a fake email that looked like it came from Amy. It had a Trojan virus buried inside. Once he opened the attachment, boom, I had full access, emails, documents, bank info, everything. And what I found? He'd been stealing. Quietly, cleverly, embezzling from his previous job, and pulling the same scam at his current one. Guy was bold, I'll give him that. I gathered everything, every detail, every shady transaction. It was enough evidence to bury him. Then I anonymously forwarded it all to his old employer, his new one, and the police. At trial, he pled guilty. 7 years in prison. His wife stood by him the whole time. Even brought the kids to visit him in lockup. But I wasn't done yet. After the sentencing, I showed up at her door. I came with a little gift bag, photos, emails, and a few juicy videos of Dan and his many side projects. She lost it. That was her breaking point. Right then and there, she cut him loose. One last piece of the puzzle remained. I paid Dan a personal visit in prison. He didn't recognize me at first. Hey, Dan, I said coolly. We've met before. I'm Amy's ex-husband. His eyes narrowed. What the hell do you want? Just passing along a couple messages. First from Amy. She says hi. Hopes you're getting used to your new digs. I helped to pick them out, by the way. What? Oh, yeah, I said. You really should have hired someone who knew how to secure your system. Once I got in, it took me, maybe 15 minutes? And I couldn't resist sharing your little side hustle with the cops. He exploded, cursing, yelling, fists clenched. I just stood there, waiting it out. When he finally ran out of breath, I leaned in a little. I also stopped by your wife's place, showed her some material. She was not impressed. Actually, she asked for my help, wanted you to know she's done. No more visits, no more phone calls, and she's filing for divorce. I pulled a few edited photos from my folder and laid them out on the table. Photoshop can do amazing things these days, I said with a smile. But you didn't know that. He stared at the pictures, mouth tight, face pale. Oh, and she told me to let you know that you won't be seeing your kids again. She gave me full permission to hand off everything to my lawyer. He's handling the divorce for her now. Dan sat frozen, face twisted in disbelief. That expression? Worth every second. So yeah. Revenge? Still best served ice cold.